Well, I think what you have to do is break down that term into two different words. So we'd have to define preaching and we'd have to define intergenerational. So let's do that.
Okay.
Going back though, I have seen some amazing children's talk, and I have heard some amazing sermons and homilies that neither of which are intergenerational. So I am not saying every sermon we offer, every message, we have to get rid of the monological sermon to adults. We have to get rid of the children's talk and do something. That's not true at all. You can do multiple things in one service, and not every service has to look the same as well. So we can come back to that, but let's go to the definitions. So preaching, my view of preaching, it really informed by Wesley Allen, and especially in his book, he wrote this book about 20 years ago that looks at a broader view of preaching, looking at a kind of a conversational approach to preaching. And he talks about the difference of proclamation and preaching. And so if we imagine three concentric circles, let's call the largest circle proclamation. Proclamation, that's everything we do to share the gospel. And the gospel is that the kingdom of God has come near. That's what Jesus preached, right? It's the good news.
So is that
Jesus
not
preached.
it's not just verbal stuff? That could be like the way we live our lives, or do you mean by proclamation stuff that we're saying?
I think it's both. It's, the old adage that's often attributed to St. Francis, preach the gospel at all times, and if you have to use words, that's proclamation, right? It's everything we do to proclaim, to communicate. It could be something formal like religious education, like a class. This lecture could be this podcast. Could be proclamation. Everything we do to communicate the good news of the gospel. Preaching is a smaller circle. So it is definitely proclamation, but not all proclamation is preaching. And so I think one of the challenges that becomes a stumbling block toward intergenerational preaching is that we often define preaching as a sermon, but it's not. A sermon is one form that preaching can take.